it's like a 30 seconds for this warm up, so you're good.
Okay. Oh, yeah. No updates on the games, please. I have it taped. That's why my kids do not.
It's not really like a VHS.
VCR. No, I have it on pause so that I can just go watch.
She's awesome. She's been great.
I said, I had to send it to my 2 girls. They were like,
Yeah.
she's so tiny. All righty. Are we?
Yeah, I'll set her.
Okay, I would like to call this meeting to order, and if you would please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are going to postpone the executive session until the end, if that is okay with everybody. So that brings us to public access. Is there anyone that would like to speak this evening? If not, I will refrain. For those of you watching from our YouTube channel, if you have comments, please use the YouTube chat feature, and the moderator will let us know when a comment is being made. That brings us to the approval of the agenda. I think I need a motion to approve the agenda and the addendum H1 L to H1Q.
And we also have a correction on H11. The 10-year date should be February 27th.
All right. Can I have a motion on that? John and Joe. All right. Are there any questions on that? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Brings us to the acceptance of the minutes. Are there any questions on that? If not, those will stand as submitted. And that brings us to the acceptance of the treasurer's report. That is for June, July, and August. Are there any questions on that? Comments on that? All right, that will stand as submitted. And that brings us to Dr. Brown has some reports for us.
Sure. So good evening, everybody. It's glad to see some people here. Appreciate it. First of all, it's a School Board Appreciation Week, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to say, thank you for your service, and again, thank you for choosing me selfishly. But enjoy the mums that are there. Shireen picked them out. I will tell you that. Shireen picked them out. I'm not good enough at that. I have to give credit where it's due. We'll have some of the Valley students wanted to make some cards and some things for you, but with the unfortunate with COVID, they're going to make you some stuff that's going to sit for a while, and I'm going to bring it to you at the next meeting. So that way, it's all been okay and everything else. So you'll have some other things there as appreciation, but just wanted to say thank you. I mentor a lot of superintendents. Superintendent got a hold of me today and asked me what he should do, because his board is not letting the cafeteria serve chocolate milk. They can only do white milk. And I said, you should run. I said, just get out of that district and go someplace else where they let you do your job, And so I can thankfully say that happens here. You let me do my job, and let all of us do our jobs. And you give us great vision and guidance, and I do appreciate when I have to reach out and ask you for history on things, your thoughts on things. And you really do put kind of a deep dig on it and make sure that I have all the information possible before I make decisions, on behalf of the district. So, again, my appreciation is without bounds. So thank you very, very much. I think Sheila had something to say as well.
I was going to say, and to piggyback on this, we have a little gift here from Sarah Robson, Jeff's better half. Or other half there. So, yeah. So I'm going to pass this around, and if everyone can read the card and take one, that would be great. Thank you, Sarah. And also, we do have a thank you note here from Mabel. So I think we're passing that around.
Yeah, I
This
got it
is just
right
the envelope, so I think we pass that around. So thank you. I'm sorry.
All right, so I did get to meet Mabel's son, Jim. What was it, like 2 weeks ago, I think? That was fun to meet him. Eventually, I'll meet them all, you know, which is good. I've got 4 or 5 things that I want to just briefly discuss with you. If you get my emails or my community correspondence, this might be a little redundant, but I know that some people who watch our board meetings don't necessarily get all that information, so I appreciate you humoring me on that. First one is I want to talk about athletics and how that has begun for the season. Our students have done remarkably well. Our visiting student athletes have done remarkably well. We have had, as can be expected, unfortunately, we've had a couple of issues with visitor parents not wanting to wear their masks, that kind of thing. But Paul Leahy, our athletic director, has done a really good job of being stern and setting a tone that we're, you know, that here's what we're doing. If you want us to be able to continue with athletics, these are the rules, and that's it. So I won't mention what school districts they're from, it doesn't matter, but we're just hopefully going to continue on in a positive way with that. But the kids have been great. Along with athletics, we've gotten a couple of complaints that have gone through to the New York on Pause department. And New York on Pause, they're the committee that hands out fines anywhere between $5,000 and $15,000 if you're in violation of any of the New York State regulations. So two of the things that we were, two of the pieces that were written in, both had to do with student athletes not wearing their masks all the time while in competition. And the reality is, student athletes don't need to wear their masks all the time when they're in competition. They need to wear their masks for as long as they can tolerate, and it's the student athlete's choice whether they're going to wear their mask or not, and the coaches always encourage them to wear their masks for as long as they can. So one of the pieces, I responded to both complaints, the Board of Education was aware of those, and then also sent the Finger Lakes Times some information where they're hopefully going to generate an article about that, just to be informational. And then the Department of Health is also going to help us out, us meaning the county, going to help us out by updating their Facebook page with some of that language as well, just so that everybody's on board with what we can and can't do when we're in play. And so that's been positive. Knock on wood, we got no complaints today, so that was good, and no complaints over the weekend, so that was good. There's a new flow chart that school districts are following in New York State related to COVID. Probably, you know, there's one piece in there that I think is positive for, I don't use the word positive in the COVID environment. There's something in the flow chart that I think parents will take well to, and that has to do with if their child is sent home because they have a COVID-like symptom, they can actually go to a doctor, and if a doctor says it's their seasonal allergies, it's their or it's something that's not COVID, the doctor can write them a note, and the child can return back to school without having to do the full quarantine time, and they can also return to school without having to get a COVID test. That's the one piece. The same thing applies for our employees as well. The one caveat with employees is that in the language, it already states that it needs to be a new condition. So when our employees fill out their daily health surveys, if they've had an allergy this time of the year every year and it's giving them a runny nose and a scratchy throat, they can mark no to COVID symptoms if it's not new to them. They only mark it if it's new. So that's kind of a positive as well. One of the pieces that is getting to be a little cumbersome for all the schools has to do with testing itself. You were able to go to a lot of different places and get a test for free, whether you had symptoms or not. And because they're having difficulty getting hold of tests and getting it to labs for processing to bring them back, now many of the labs that were free and symptom free are now you have to have symptoms, or it's going to cost you up to the one I heard today was $600, $150 for the office visit, and then the rest was right in the test itself. Now, if you have health insurance, fine, your health insurance will cover it, but you have plenty of families here who don't have that type of coverage, and that becomes difficult. So I think the language in that flow chart to me works fairly well. Where it spins a little different is if the Department of Health has to get involved in a quarantine case. So let me go to my next topic, which is right now we have 9 employees and 10 students who are quarantined because there was a student teacher who tested positive for COVID. Because the Department of Health had to get directly involved in that on the flow chart, and I'm looking at it in my brain, but on the flow chart on the left-hand side, it's a mandatory 14-day quarantine no matter what. So all of our employees and all of our students who were quarantined out of an overabundance of caution because a student teacher had tested positive, and many college campuses have high infection rates. So some have gotten COVID tests on their own. Some have been, all of them have been symptom-free and are kind of chomping to get back to work. And unfortunately, they can't for the 14 days. And I think what's good for you to know is that depending upon where the building resides is the Department of Health that governs the amount of time that employee is out. So for example, our 9 employees that are out, they represent 3 different counties, Wayne, Yates, and Ontario. And Wayne, Yates, and Ontario gave 3 different days that the employee could return back to work. And we went with what Ontario County said because they were quarantined from our high school, which is in Ontario County. So they'll be coming back at the earliest on the 21st. If they develop any symptoms, they may go to get tested. The Department of Health also, as part of that flow chart, will not send them to get tested unless they exhibit symptoms. So that's just stuff to know. So we're going to keep people informed on that. I'm going to do a Zoom town hall again, just to kind of go over some of the updates from the school year, go over some of this, because some of the questions that have come out, one has been, if someone gets quarantined, can their siblings go to school and can their parents go to work? And the answer is yes, as long as they remain symptom-free. Even if someone is COVID positive in the house, there are cases where the Department of Health will say, okay, if it's a sibling and they've been quarantined enough in the house, not using the same bathroom, not using the same utensils, not eating out of the same plates or off the same plates, they may allow that child or that adult to go to work or go to school. That's a DOH decision, nothing to do with us. But this employees and students that are home now, out of an overabundance of caution, everybody in the house right now can go do what they've been doing, except for the people who are quarantined. And lastly, on that case, quarantine means quarantine. So I had a conversation with another superintendent I was helping out on Friday. He had 2 employees who were quarantined, but were seen at a local restaurant. And in a small community, that doesn't play well, obviously. So when you're quarantined, you're at home or you're fixed to your property. So they're letting you go outside in your property. You cannot go to the store, can't go to church, can't go to anywhere, can't go to your kid's game. And that's important because we make sure we remind all of our people of that. So are there questions on the flow chart at all? I know it's a lot. Cindy?
No, I just did. So the people who are quarantined, are they filling something out every day to let you know, like, I don't have symptoms today, or they don't have to?
They don't have to do that unless they develop symptoms, then they're gonna get a hold of us because they're not, and all of our quarantine employees are actually working every day. They're connecting via Zoom and they're doing all their classes as if they were here.
That's not 9 teachers, it's a mix of
It's correct. It's teachers, aides, and assistants. Yep. And then I think just the last piece I have is we had talked about social justice and equity matters and having to make sure that we're instructing our students about those topics. And we talked about that kind of in the spring, a little bit over the summer. And just to kind of bring you up to speed on where we're at, one of the things is there's 2 superintendents in the county, myself and Bridget Ashton, who's superintendent at Honeywell. She and I are the 2 superintendents representing all of the schools in the county on the police reform and reimagination collaborative. It's through Ontario County. The sheriff is running that. There's about 30 members on the community from all walks of life. And we're in the beginning stages of kind of having discussions about which way the committee should go, but the governor has given the charge at the end of this committee work. We are to go through all of the police rules of engagement, their use of force, their everything, and make collective recommendations for the safety of community members, but also the safety of the officers, and then try to bridge that gap between good cop, bad cop, making sure that our law enforcement people are very well respected as they should be, but also recognizing that there's some people out here that are kind of getting the short end of the bargain in some ways from some of the bad law enforcement that's out there, and trying to bring it all together. So where I think that helps us is it's going to bring conversations. We're putting together a community-wide survey where people can give their input about what they think, and we'll get that out to everybody when that's available in our community. And no matter what, it's a mandate. So it's not something that the sheriff can say he doesn't want to do. It has to be done, and it has set goals, and there are set offices that have to be part of the committee. Schools are part of that. So I'm kind of happy to be working with that. It's new for me, so I feel kind of happy about that. And then we're also doing a national racial equity book study that's going to start for the first time on Thursday night. And again, it's just widening the dialogue and hopefully getting some talking points, for all of us and that kind of thing. And then there'll be a district-wide book study, or I shouldn't say book study, book conversation about the book White Fragility, and that's where we'll probably start having some of our conversations with students like we're required to do from New York State. So I'll keep you posted. If there's ways for you to become involved on some of our internal committees, I'll let you know, and then if you want to, and then also when I get that survey, I'll let you know about that. But I didn't want anybody to think that we're dropping that. We're not. It's just that we had a lot of other topics in order to get school off the ground that we had to take care of first. And now we're there, and now we're on to the next thing. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Chris? That brings us to the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. That is, I believe, H1A to H17 with those corrections that we mentioned.
So moved.
Jeff and Carrie. All right. Are there any questions on that? There's a lot there. Good.
So at the beginning of it says the personnel appointments are pending clearance of New York State fingerprinting requirements. Does that mean they don't start until they get fingerprint clearance?
We've always let them start because it takes anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks sometimes to get those to turn around.
What we do though is we actually talk to Scott Lambert, our school resource officer, whenever we have anybody coming in, and he does a background check while we're waiting for the fingerprints to come back. And if anything were to come up, a prior arrest or something like that, we can make a decision before you even see this on a piece of paper. So if you're seeing this on a piece of paper, the fingerprints are going to come back. They're going to come back okay.
I know it's always on there.
Yep. That's a great question. Yeah, great question. Yep.
Are there any other questions? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. All right, that brings us to our second public access to the board. Do we have any?
Nothing on YouTube.
We're good? All right. The audit committee minutes from the September 22nd. We had, what's his name, Eric? Eric was there. Anybody want to recap anything or?
No, I think Zoe shared the audit.
And there was really no major highlights. I think we focused more on the discussion with Eric we spoke about what the future of this year is going to look like. And, we ended up in a good place, but what that future going to look like, and, just things that pretty much repeated some of the things that Dr. Brown's been sharing with us, some of the things we have to keep focused on, state aid, and how it's going to look in the next couple of years.
And there really wasn't any findings.
So kudos to Zoe and Chris and everybody behind that because there really wasn't anything. Thank you. We do have another one scheduled for October, I believe. Everyone's favorite topic is the superintendent evaluation.
Yeah.
Shereen likes to keep us on our toes, and I did express the pleasure that the board would have to Chris. And I believe this is our verbal executive session.
Right. Yep.
And by contract, we are obligated to do this, so,
I'll keep it under 5 minutes, or your next
Yeah,
one's free.
yes.
How about that?
So I think Chris was just gonna work on some goals and whatever, but he felt that the evaluation that we already gave him was good enough.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't need us to tell him how wonderfully he's doing.
You'll tell me if there's something wrong, so
Yes,
I'm not too
yes.
worried about it. I'm just keep doing what I think is right, so.
Yeah.
Tell me when I'm gonna run out.
Right. Yeah.
Now let's keep doing what I think is right, so, yeah.
So there will be an executive session in the beginning or the end, we
Yeah.
don't know, but it hopefully will be brief. Unless
Yeah, I'll be-
anybody's got anything to say, please let us know. Or bring it with you. And then we put this on here, just so we didn't forget it, but, we always do the Friendship House for Christmas. I feel weird even thinking about Christmas because it doesn't seem like it's that time, but, there's been some changes. I don't know, somebody might know more than me, but there's been some changes at the Friendship House. Jim Loomis is involved still. I believe he's on the board. Jim has been coming to all the Food Link, and he was gonna try to find out more information because he said he has a lot of like church groups and stuff asking him the same question of what they can bring. And with the changes, he just doesn't know, and he wants to be able to tell us exactly. You know, I told him, I think last year we did gift cards, and they like told us the exact amount and whatever, and so he's just trying to be more specific. If ever, I don't want to put words in everyone's mouth, if everyone is still up for doing the Friendship House for our kind of give back for Christmas.
So I think I took I did a tour today of the Friendship House, just speaking of this.
Great.
And they're kind of under new management, and if you know Jim Loomis, you know, he doesn't do anything, you know, half. So, during the tour today, had a chance to see what their new kind of plans are, and if you can think of the kind of the back of the building where they used to store all the furniture underneath that overhang thing, took all that out. They're going to cement that in. They're going to put that's where they're going to put some of their canned goods, so it's easier to store and display. They because of Jim's connections, they've gotten most of the back stock now from Wegmans and Walmart, so they're bursting at the seams with stuff. And they sent me away today with 7 or 8 boxes of school supplies. They'd like to strengthen the partnership between the school and the Friendship House now that they're under new management. And so we're going to do that. The admin team and I are going to go on another tour over there. And we're also going to take the counselors. They do have, they have lots of toys. They have lots of clothes now, and it's just well laid out. I'm not going to say, I wouldn't speak poorly about the past, but from what I know, it's a place you can walk through now, and there's no clutter, there's no nothing, everything's organized and all that. So I think we'll just have to wait for a little bit of direction on what they exactly need, because they do have it all cataloged. It's, like I said, very organized, and we'll be working with them moving forward. So yeah, I'll let you know.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll keep you posted on that. Are there any other board member items that anybody has? No. If not, I don't even think we need a 5-minute break. I need a motion. No, I'm sorry. We're gonna go into executive session. Take a 2-minute break. Don't go anywhere. And then we're gonna go a quick executive session, and then Deanna's gonna give us a tour. These are so nice. Please. Very nice.
You know, in my spare time.
You did, yes. I'm sure you had a lot. Okay.
So for those who might be on our Zoom right now, the board is not expected to take any action after we come out of executive session, so we're going to stop our recording for this evening. Thank you.
We're going into executive session for our personnel matter too. Thank you, Mabel.